Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. In this video, we're going to be discussing the Death Eaters, Severus Snape, and murder. Born in the year 1960 to a muggle father and witch mother, Snape began attending Hogwarts in 1971, along with Harry's mother, Lily. Snape was sorted into Slytherin while Lily was sorted into Gryffindor, and this was very hard on Snape as he was in love with Lily. At a young age, Snape began practicing the dark arts, fueled by rage stemming from incessant bullying at the hands of James Potter, Remus Lupin, and Sirius Black. This led him down a dark path, and Snape ended up joining the Death Eaters along with other Slytherins from his year. Snape was a true Death Eater for quite a while, before eventually joining the good guys and acting as a double agent. While acting as a double agent during the Wizarding War, Snape amazingly managed to stop Voldemort from reading his mind, and this allowed Snape to trick Voldemort and the Death Eaters into thinking that his allegiance was with them. This was an example of his extreme aptitude in occlumency. In his youth, Snape was a very promising young wizard, and while learning his primary course material at Hogwarts, would scribble in his notebook and invent curses, charms, and potions. Snape even produces his own version of the Potions class textbook under the alias The Half-Blood Prince, which in addition to the regular textbook content, contained shortcuts to creating potions, as well as spells that Snape himself had created. Some were more vicious than others, particularly Sectum Sempra, which is a vicious dark curse that acts like an invisible sword, causing lacerations, hemorrhaging, and cuts upon its target. Often after being struck, the target will lay there motionless as they lose blood. It would be a great choice of spell for someone wishing to commit murder, which is the topic of this video. Though Snape's allegiance later changed, and while Snape proved himself to be an invaluable ally, it cannot be completely ignored that, for a time, Snape was a full-fledged Death Eater. I don't think that Snape was a Death Eater because he was hell-bent on power or wished to inflict harm upon people. It was simply because he had nowhere else to go. He was extremely talented, and with the Death Eaters, he was praised for his magical knowledge. It was someone that he could belong, even if only for a little while. Additionally, Snape experimented with all forms of magic, and didn't avoid the dark arts like other witches and wizards would. The following excerpt from the Goblet of Fire discusses Snape's initial attraction to the dark arts. Snape's always been fascinated by the dark arts. He was famous for it at school. Slimy, oily, greasy-head kid he was, Sirius added, and Harry and Ron grinned at each other. Snape knew more curses when he arrived at school than half the kids in 7th year, and he was part of a gang of Slytherins who nearly all turned out to be Death Eaters. And the following passage from the Deathly Hallows further outlined Snape's affinity with the dark arts, finding humour where Lily Evans clearly did not. "Thought we were supposed to be friends," Snape was saying. "Best friends? We are, Sev, but I don't like some of the people you're hanging around with. I'm sorry, but I detest Avery and Mulciber." "Mulciber? What do you see in him, Sev? He's creepy. Do you know what he tried to do to Mary McDonald the other day?" Lily had reached a pillar and leaned against it, looking up into the thin, sallow face. "That was nothing," said Snape. "It was a laugh, that's all. It was dark magic, and if you think that's funny." It was by hanging out with people like Mulciber and Avery that Snape further distanced himself from Lily, as outlined in the following interview with J.K. Rowling. The interviewer asks, "Lily detested Mulciber and Avery. If Snape really loved her, why didn't he sacrifice their company for her sake?" To which Rowling responds, "Well, that is Snape's tragedy. Given his time over again, he would not have become a Death Eater, but like many insecure, vulnerable people, like Wormtail, he craved membership of something big and powerful, something impressive. He wanted Lily and he wanted Mulciber too. He never really understood Lily's aversion. He was so blinded by his attraction to the dark side, he thought she would find him impressive if he became a real Death Eater." So Snape had a true pull to the dark side for a while, and it's not unreasonable for us to wonder, what sort of dark things did Snape do? Did he kill anyone? Torture anyone? He was certainly a Death Eater for long enough to have had the opportunity. I believe that the following exchange between Dumbledore and Snape indicates that he never actually directly committed an act of murder. "If you don't mind dying," said Snape roughly, "why not let Draco do it? That boy's soul is not yet so damaged," said Dumbledore. "I would not have it ripped apart on my account." "And my soul, Dumbledore? Mine?" What this tells us is that Snape is concerned for his own untarnished soul. If Snape had truly led a dark path where murder had become common for him, then his soul would already be badly damaged. The reason that Dumbledore wants Snape to kill him, and not Draco, is to protect Draco's soul. If Snape had ever experienced or performed something akin to murder, then this would not be of any concern to him. So I believe that this pretty convincingly suggests that Snape, though a Death Eater for many years, never committed an act of murder. Sure, he may have been involved with or present when another of the Death Eaters performed the act, but he himself had not. At times, it sure seemed like Snape would have been capable of it, but I just can't see how Snape could be so genuinely concerned for his own soul if he had done it before. And that's it for this video. What do you guys think? Did Snape commit direct murder as a Death Eater? Let me know down in the comment section below. Until next time, you're a wizard, Harry.